So what I'm going to be doing, this is not just one of my regular I'm randomly forging things videos. This is one of my I'm randomly forging things on a Saturday evening videos, which means that it's Saturday evening and I'm making stuff. There you go. Forging a preform for probably another cleaver. Now you may ask yourself, why am I forging so many cleavers? Why am I making so many hunting knives, so many tomahawks? Because that's how I make a living. And I would appreciate if you guys would hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. Now, while that other end is coming up to temperature, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check my dies, make sure that things are still good and tight. Because after all that pounding, things can loosen up a little bit. After all that forging, things can loosen up a little bit. Check your dies, make sure that's safe, all right? Now what I want to do, since this is probably 3/8 of an inch thick or so, it's a trailer spring. I've thinned out a portion down by the handle. I've drawn out my tang. I've got that offset to the spine. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to come in at a relatively high heat, a good forging heat, and I'm going to start widening that blade out because I'm doing a cleaver. Why? Because cleavers are awesome and they're quite useful. Whether it's butchering, whether kitchen use, of course. This is a rather large blade that's got quite a bit of potential action on a semi-regular basis. I mean, it's, you know, anyone who eats food, most of us have some means of preparing it. And a cleaver can be used for meats, it can be used for vegetables. Flat on its side, great way to crush a garlic clove. So I'm going to go ahead and get going. Now there's quite a ways to go on this, but I do want it to be wider at the front than at the back, so I've got a little bit of a preform going on here. Now, whether you are hand forging or you're using the power hammer, it's important, one, to take little bites because you're concentrating force on a smaller area, and when you do that, you're a little more productive on that. Now, basically on that, I still had curvature to the spring. I needed to do something else, and so I used more of the hammer face. Let's come over here. There's the axe throwing range in there. And see about prepping another piece of steel because I kind of want to make more cleavers, more blades. This is what you don't want to see. Here's a broken piece of leaf spring. Now, there could be fractures in this. There's only one way to find out, and that's to try it out. Okay, of course, we could grind it, we could etch it. But what I'm thinking about doing is I cut off a section of this. It's kind of a small piece. Let's do it anyway. Well, happy birthday to the birthday boy. There's a big section of spring right there. Quick examination doesn't look like there's any cracks, but it could be. We're going to find out. That's the hard part, is when, actually the hard part is when it fails. And you put that time and effort into it. That's also part about using recycled materials, is that the cost is low. Of course, the cost of good steel isn't that expensive. Still probably 3/16 of an inch thick on that edge. This is a forge for effect scenario. It's going to turn out, it's going to be a cool piece, I promise. Absolutely. Okay, so once more, you guys would please hit that subscribe button. We're going to do some more forging in just a moment once we get up to temperature. That other section of broken spring. That probably was not very fun to happen. Wow. Okay. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to get this one ready to process after I do a little more forging. So now you can see that shape coming together. Rather rudimentary design, but effective. Let's get that up to temperature, and what we're doing that, I'm going to come over here and start processing up this spring. Now it's got this, whatever the hell that is. Appears to be plastic of some sort. Got a hole right there. Guys, let's go ahead and cut this. I'd almost be tempted. I need the hole towards the back though. Okay. I usually drill a hole in my cleaver, and I thought, oh, maybe I can use that, but I don't think it's going to work too well. Put a little extra off there. Let's cut this end off. That is one way to eat your grinding gun. All right, cut off this pretty quickly. All right, back to the power hammer again. I would like to make a sword. Very cool. I will do some sword videos in the future. I've been trying to get swords finished up. Here's just kind of a little broadsword I put together today. I've had the blade done for a while. Still got to sharpen it up. Still got some hammer marks. Want to leave it like that. Did a bloodwood handle, poured pewter pommel. Just a rustic little chopper right there. I've still got to get a handle made for this one. But I figure that ought to take limbs off of a tree pretty good. Or other things. Probably trees for me. I use it on trees. Alright. So here we go. Back to the power hammer. Now that is quite a bit wider than it originally was. See, like I said, it will loosen up the die on the power hammer. Well, now that we've got made a little bit of progress on that blank, we're going to do some hand forging. Let's see if we can get the forge in the shot. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to be doing some hand forging. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here. Going to straighten, just kind of clean up my profile. Trying to get some ideas. I guess I'll just cut this piece in two. Not in half, in two. We can do a fraction to help that. So there's two big chunks of steel. Let's see what we can make out of those. I bet I can make money out of them. That's awesome. And what forge am I using? This is an Atlas knife and tool forge. It's what we use at our forge memory location here in St. Elmo, Illinois. More of a sugar cane knife. I'm going to do a little bit of modification to this. But I'm going to widen that blade out just a little bit more, and then I'll have to grind it to shape from there. And we'll be using the power hammer. All right. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And you can check out some of my work on Forged in Fire, Season 4, Episode 2, Deerhorn Knives. You can find me on YouTube, other than just this channel. Master of Arms on Discovery Channel, Season 1, Episode 1, Flintlock Axe Pistol. Some marketing advice, some next level knife making. That book's probably available on Amazon. Just Google Dustin Rhodes Bladesmith, see what comes up. as right now, I feel it looks more like a sugarcane knife. And if it doesn't change, that's what it's going to look like, a cleaver version of that. And I've seen videos where in different parts of South America, different parts of jungle regions, that they use machetes as cleavers, as well as for food prep, for butchering, and for clearing vegetation. So let's see what we can do here. Good. So this is getting wider like I wanted it to. You don't see too many narrow cleavers, although I suppose if there's enough weight or force that it would cleave whatever you were wanting to. Alright. Now these will be oil quenched, and they will most likely be differentially hardened. So it'll be edge quenched for the most part. Looking okay to me. What I want to do next, I'm actually going to draw the tang through, try to make sure everything's reasonably straight, and then we'll get the next piece of steel in the forge. Guys, please be sure to like and subscribe. Now what I'm doing, I'm not forging to finish. This is forged for effect. So you may notice that, hey, there's some areas that can come down, and that'll happen with the 2x72. That up to temperature, and I'm going to let it cool. I'm going to do that 3 times. And some people don't do normalizing cycles or grain refinement cycles, thermocycling, and in my opinion it greatly affects the performance of your blade. So I'm going to do a little bit of thermocycling now, and then we'll go on to the next piece. Looking at those big chunks of leaf spring, there's going to be a lot of material to move. Thankfully, I do have the power hammer. Hopefully be getting the press into the shop soon. It's currently in storage. Questions, comments, let me know. I could cut up. Didn't somebody say make a sword? I think somebody said make a sword. I don't need to make a sword, but I got some 1/4 inch by 2 inch wide 1080 from Admiral Steel. Yeah, let's make a sword. We'll at least start on the sword. So, some people will start on their tip when they're forging a sword. I'm going to start on the tang. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is because, one, I don't want to draw out too much material from when I already have an idea for the blade. So, I think I might do a falchion of sorts. And I said a falchion of sorts, so what does that mean? Falchions come in all different shapes and sizes, and one hand, two hands, weird shapes. And there's a falchion blade shape that has always stood out in my mind, and I think the first time I saw it was on Braveheart. It looked kind of like a machete, with a big tip and kind of a spike, and it's a reverse falchion. My favorite example in modern culture is from Tristan and Isolde, Moorhope sword. I think that was his name. And it was this big two-hand falchion. And it was just this wicked-looking blade. And I've seen some that are close. A blade show is coming up, and I do need something to get photographed down there. So maybe I should make a falchion. I think that's what I'm going to go with. But let me normalize, get my grain refinement done on this cleaver first. You guys are wondering what it turned out like. It turned out like a big cleaver. Maybe I should measure something. No, I don't think I want to measure something. I want to go for I'll be able to draw my tang out of 3.5 inches of steel. Let me get a tape measure. I could be completely wrong about that. Oh, look, the tape measure. 3 5/8 inches of steel. I was wrong. Heaven forbid. Soapstone works well in the forge because it's pretty heat resistant. But a lot of times I'll also notch that in with the grinder. One more cycle, and I broke my soapstone. So 3 5/8. Come on. mean, that should be enough, especially being a 1/4 inch thick, once I compress it and bring it out. Now, overall, I'm guessing this is probably maybe 3 foot. Alright, this is like a grown-up version of Blue's Clues. Where did my tape measure go? The shop gremlin stole it, it's over here. This is 30.5 inches overall. I think my final product I want to be about 30 inches. So after I draw this out, I'm actually going to cut some off the end. I'll probably cut at a slight angle just to draw that material out some. Alright, so now I'm going to do one more cycle, and this is going to be a low temp cycle. And then we're going to get on to forging a sword, because Lisa said make a sword, so we're going to make a sword. Why the hell not, right? 1080 is a pretty forgiving steel. Some people claim that you don't have to normalize. We're going to normalize, guaranteed. Especially if we're going to put that much potential force on a blade that size. Boys and girls, here we go. So we've got a couple minutes at least to get that up to temp. Let's turn that temp up. And I'm going to show you around my shop. Well, this is one of my, I'm down to one shop. I had a couple of them, and this is where I'm at now. Let me turn this around. So you can see here, this is forged memory, Axon main forged memory, and we've got, you can see some of my anvils and different stuff, and of course we have the cheap pocket knives and switchblades and stuff. There's one of my cleavers, it's actually on auction now. One of my hunters with a Hamon. Other blades, ABS certificate. One of my knives that's published in Knives 2023. And you can see there's a book I helped write, and all kinds of Bowie knives. This is a hunter I was working on just a little bit earlier. DRFW, Dusty Rhodes Forge Works. And we've got, I've got to get these cases stocked, but I've been making a lot of tomahawks, people. You can come in here, you can forge your own knife at our Forge Memory location. Kind of looks like a mess right now, but there's some more tomahawks. Kids were throwing safe axes. And, well, it's coming up to temperature. Hell, let's see. I sprayed these earlier. We had a party coming in and they canceled. There you go. Most of the bright colors in here are actually UV reactive. We've got black light, so it's like Galaxy Bowling, except it's throwing axes. Which, I mean, realistically, bowling is a pretty dangerous sport. It's a lot safer with axes, I guess, or something. Just because I said it doesn't mean it's true. And it is literally hammer time at this point. Oh, I can't see my mark. That's okay. Draw that out into at least a hand and a half grip. Why? Because why not? Okay? So this was one of my fun little projects. This was just a small broadsword I did. And no particular reason. This was actually a much longer sword. And then it was easier for me to cut it down, make a dagger and a sword out of it for heat treat purposes. So I still got to sharpen it up, but that'll be available soon. Don't want my steel getting too cold. It may be a forgiving steel, but still. No, this was actually made in Arkansas by Raymond Head. I got it from Robbie Bowman. He was also on Forged in Fire. So it was shop made, but it's not one of mine, no. But it does have a 75-pound head on it, so it hammers pretty efficiently. Definitely have a one-hand grip right there. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit longer. Yeah, this is it. Actually, when you press down, it disengages the brake and engages the motor. So it works. I had a 1919 Little Giant 25-pounder, and I used it from 2017 until last year, and he went to a new home. I need to figure out how long I want to make this handle. Of course, it also has to accommodate a guard, and probably need to do 9 to 10 inches on this piece. I'm marking it on my handle. Moving right along. No, this is what I do for a living. I've been a full-time bladesmith since I went on Forged to Fire in 2017. And then getting the exposure from doing the TV shows, I've been able to buy commercial properties, vehicles, all that stuff, just by doing sales. So, yeah, this is what I do. Now, something I am noticing right off, if I want to do that full two-hand grip, I'm going to have to make this longer. And I'm not sure I want to do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to straighten that tang out. I can do a hand and a half out of that. Now, right now, keep in mind that shoulder's going to have a guard on it. Puts me at a 7.5 inch long grip. I think that'll work. Still a little bit of red to it, so I can work it. Now, what was I saying? I wanted to do 30 inches. that should be around 27 right there. Make her just a little bit longer. I want to cut in between those 2 points. All right. I'll still be able to get a big Bowie knife or something out of that piece of 1080. Better mark that. All right. Let's rotate this back. Now, keep in mind that both ends are hot, this end being hotter than the other. And what I want to do, I actually want this tip to be drawn out and kind of curve in. So some people say you cut it to a point already. You know what? It'll work, trust me. So the first thing I want to do, turn that around, get that in the forge. Well, we can always hope not to cut towards ourselves, but fortunately OSHA's not here. Still a good practice, and thank you. I usually prefer dusting. All right. But no, this is an interest I've had for a long time. I started doing this when I was 10 or 12, and then it was a hobby. Then the hobby made more money than my job, and then I just it became a business. That up to a high heat, and then it's going to be time for hand forging. Right. I don't know where my half rounder is. My half rounder. All right, half rounder. Combo. Is there an amount of times that you can put metal into a forge? Technically, yes. Because of oxidation and so forth, the scale formed actually reduces the amount of mass over use. So as you're losing scale, you are losing some mass in your blade. Depending upon temperature of the forge as well, can determine how long it is, you know, how many times you can decarb the blade before you start having issues. Some people say, well, stock removal is better than forging because etc., etc. You have more carbon in your steel. Decarb generally happens on thousandths of an inch. Shouldn't be an issue. The question is, can I grab this with a glove? And then there's a matter of should I grab it with a glove? Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start working this in. That is quite warm. Lighter hammer. This is going to come around like this, and I want that to kind of curve over. Now, when you say metal, I mean, at that point, if we're working with steel, with some alloy, I mean, if you're working copper, you can remelt quite a few times, as well as like pewter and different materials. Yeah. But think of a Bowie knife in reverse. So if you're going traditional Bowie knife fighting where that edge would be up, but there's not going to be an edge on the back. Well, maybe towards the tip, but most of it is going to be on the underside. So more like a recurve, kind of like a kukri, a combination. It's, I'm hoping to be able to pull this off. This is going to have a fire or anything. So the hardest part of this is probably going to be getting that tip forged, and then the heat treat, of course. Which I'll probably have to set up 2 of our 2-burner forges to do that. Bring a different quench tank here. All that fun stuff. to be fun. Okay, so nickel, like I use nickel iron meteorite, and sometimes I use Damascus, or make Damascus that has a nickel content rather. So yeah, I have a little bit. I can't say that I've worked with a lot of pure nickel lately, but yeah, I have worked with nickel. So there's going to be a lot of repetition in this process, trying to get everything the way I want it. Trying to think of what I can do, what I really shouldn't do, things like that. Next, we're going to go over the power hammer again. I'm going to start thinning out that material. We're at 1/4 inch, so the heaviest I really want this, except for maybe up by the shoulder, will be 3/16 of an inch, tapering down to probably, I don't know, I may want to reinforce tip on this one. Heat that up again, run it under once more. Thin that out, because if I make it too thick, then I've either got to grind away material, or when I forge it, it's going to distort more. After I thin it out just a little bit more, we're going to go, actually we're probably going back to hand forging now. Oh, I bet it was. I bet it was frustrating. Well, this has more of a rounding face to it. Fair Iron Forge, Jared Sutcliffe. Met him first time we were down at Turtle Island at Eustis Conway's for Mountain Men teaching down there. Cheyenne, myself, and Robbie Bowman. So. Some people make these falchions really, really thin. I'm not going to do that. One, I'm more prone to warpage. Two, it's going to be more difficult to finish out. People waving at me through the window over there. Like I said, I've already got a guard in mind for this. It's actually a blank I got from Mike Peterson, friend of mine. Season 5, episode like 37 or something like that. The Bardiche. Another Forged in Fire persona. And if you come to our shop, you can come over, look at the walls. Like there's us with Eustis Conway, and there's a bunch of us from Forged in Fire, and we have a lot of friends in TV and similar forms of media. Now I slid that blade in further. I'm going to start working out, drawing that bevel out. And that's mostly going to be done with the power hammer, and then I'll do corrective forging by hand. On convexing the bevelage, yes. So, yeah, it's going to be convex in profile, and then in the edge geometry, then it will be Appleseed. You know, it'll be a convex edge. And generally that is done some in grinding. There will be a fair amount of hammer finishing on this. I generally do convex grind versus concave. Occasionally I will do concave on the wheel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. probably start at the shoulder and work my way out. In this case, I'm going backwards just because. We'll get that just a little bit hotter. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button. I'm going to start working on broadening that tip. So that much of the blade, approximate, I'm going to try to get it to taper out, wider, be forward weighted. So now we're forging swords, because somebody said, I think it was Lisa, said, make a sword. So, hell, we're making a sword. Hammers are a wonderful thing. Some people think they're expensive. They are worth it. Get that up to temp. We're going to come in, forge out the spine, get it curving the opposite direction. Is that where that tip is? I want that to hook in like a talon. So there may be a portion of this that I do more stock removal on, but I really want to get that tip forged in. Get that profile the way I want it. Tempted to do a companion dagger with it. I might. I just might. Momentarily, we'll go back under, back under the power hammer, do a little more forging. All right, now we're getting to where I want to be. Just a little bit closer to awesomeness is what that is. I'm trying to think, do I want to go ahead and add an extension to that tang so I can thread it? More than likely, I'll probably add a section of mild steel to the tang so that it'll be easier to paint. Do some hand forging on that tip and then turn it around. Work from that shoulder on out. Oh no, I'm smelting. That's funny, but smelting is, we do that in a different video actually. balanced out that way. It's not quite an orc sword, but it's a badass piece of steel. I'm gonna have to drop that tip again. What am I going to name it? Let's see, so you do iron work, you get kind of bored with welding though. Well, okay, so yeah, other things we do, like we do casting. Most of what I do is in relation to forging and bladesmithing. I'm head of the local business association here. I'm the president of the St. Elmo Business Association. We do some teaching here, and also occasionally we teach some college classes. We're teaching Turtle Island. We've been down there a couple times. Work with Wounded Warrior a little bit. I have an axe throwing venue. So no, I don't flip houses. Like, I do buy properties and develop them, but I really don't flip houses. I might do that. Yes, yeah, we teach it here. Myself and Cheyenne and sometimes my daughter. probably would be. The only issue is where we're at in Illinois, it's low income. Well, we're in Illinois, so I mean the state is screwed financially. But it's cheap for me to live here, and then I sell to people, sell products and services to individuals in areas of higher income, and we do pretty good. I'm starting on my blade project. In the bar.
So am I.
All right. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to even some of that out. Rentals or something like that probably wouldn't be bad. Around here, I mean, your rental property ranges from $600 to probably $1,800 a month. So it's not real. It's not as profitable as it can be unless you literally have all your overhead covered, and then you're still looking at $1,500 or more a year on your real estate taxes and all that fun stuff. Slight downward curve in this particular piece. Cheyenne's got her Henry accessories in, I believe. No?
That was my catalog and my stickers.
Oh, just your stickers? Right.
No, they just shipped those out today.
Drops a little bit, so that's okay. Alright, so now I'm going to let that in cool. And start working my way to the shoulder. Mammoth parts. Cheyenne's going to be incorporating stabilized fossil mammoth parts into her build. And I believe, how should I put it? An original Viking blade will be included in the Damascus.
Excavated Viking relic.
Viking relic blade. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe.
Andy, you're right.
see. I'm assuming those are rib sections. Cheyenne was on season 9, episode 5 of Forged in Fire. Are they stabilized?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, sure so. You can use a section of it.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'd almost use the entire thing. Well, you know, and then make your fittings. That's pretty cool. Look out. So what I'm going to do, I'm forging that bevel in first for the edge. That's on the inside, and then I'll forge the spine to create curvature. Still debating on how I'm doing this. I got a pretty good idea. And I think I'm probably going to incorporate human bone into the build. Just kind of piece. What kind of section?
Section, and then think about it in between. That's what I was thinking. To add a colorful, like a human, some type of colorful stone or something, and then name it, and then stone name it.
Okay. Make what?
You just want to make a plate bigger than mine.
No, I plan on making this for 5. And if we're driving to Atlanta, then we can take it and get it photographed. So that curvature, the edge is not going to be on the outer curve. It's going to be on the inner curve. Now you can see how that blade curves down. I'm going to let this cool, and then I'm going to adjust the tang. Boys and girls, I also have this little piece of 1080 right here that I cut at a complementary angle off the end. Why the hell not make a companion dagger? Everybody else that played doesn't go, hey, you know how I want to get published? I want to make a reverse valve shit. It could happen. All right. Once more, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. Check out some of my other video content. And feel free to check us out at Forge Memory. We started out in home base is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Robbie Bowman started this. Check him out in the Old Mill Avenue. I think it's 172 Old Mill Avenue, the Old Mill District. And be sure to watch Forge and Fire, Master of Arms. I'll catch you guys a bit later.